just think Kelsey's going to have a Kelsey year.
I think he's going to be one of those players that's going to be a bust. That's my opinion. Ingram, you know what? I think we got this guy. He might be even a little bit low. I don't know. We'll see. But I'll tell you what, they did draft Brian Thomas. I think Brian Thomas at receiver is going to be
good.
I think he's been looking good. I think he's going to be one of those rookies out of this season that's going to surprise people this year and is definitely a sleeper. So I think Ingram, this guy is talented. Yeah, he's up there in age. It wouldn't surprise me if Ingram is in the top 5, or in the top 3. Could be. I don't know. We'll see. I think he'll be right around what he did last year. I don't know that he's going to have 114 receptions. I think that the addition of Brian Thomas this year is going to take away from that, and Gabe Davis as well. Plus they got Kirk, and if Kirk stays healthy, so I don't necessarily know he's gonna hit that 100 reception remark, but I think he'll be in that 90 range probably. Close to that 1,000-yard mark. I don't know that he'll have. I think he'll be around the 4 or 5 touchdown range. But I think he's definitely going to be up there.
Yeah, I think we have him honestly like right in the perfect spot. Personally, I think he should be down the spot, but he's been consistent in Jacksonville. The only issue I have with him, and I guess he wasn't that bad the last 2 years with the Giants, but he has had injury history. It hasn't been for a few years, but like you said, he's getting up there in age. Injuries are more likely to happen now at this point, but I could totally see him still having a full healthy season, maybe around 80 receptions for maybe 800 yards. I could see him averaging 10 yards there, as he's done in quite a few seasons. And I could see him actually having a few more touchdowns. But we'll kind of see. I think just like the drop there in targets and receptions is kind of made up by like 1 or 2 more touchdowns, but not to the point of what we have ahead.
Here's the other thing too. Last year was the first year for Doug Peterson, I believe, as their head coach, and Doug Peterson was in Philadelphia, and he loves to use his tight ends. So that's why I think we saw his production go up last year. So I still think he'll be over that 90 range, but I think the addition of Brian Thomas is going to cut into him.
And honestly, he could be around the same as well. They had Calvin Ridley last year with who was it, Zay Jones, I believe.
Yeah, true.
So maybe it's just similar to like last year because you bring in Brian Thomas, who I think can match Calvin Ridley, basically the same, and Gabe Davis might just have a step on Zay Jones, but realistically, this offense doesn't look too much different than it did last year. Just different names of players and different players. Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, you know what? I think Kyle Pitts is going to have the best year of his career this year. I really do. I think that you guys heard me say it before, and I'll say it again. Arthur Smith did not use Kyle Pitts the way he should have. Yeah, he was targeted 90 times last year, but it was with terrible quarterback play. He only had 53 receptions, and I would argue that the majority of those that he didn't catch were probably ones that were uncatchable. So Kirk Cousins coming in this year, I think Kyle Pitts is he's gonna have a breakout year. He had over 1,000 yards his rookie year, but I think that's before they brought in Arthur Smith. His rookie year he had 68 receptions. I think this year he's gonna have over 1,000 yards. I think he's gonna have 80 receptions. I see him definitely having at least 5 touchdowns, if not more. I'm really high on Kyle Pitts. I think that Kyle was probably the one that jumped up and down when Atlanta brought in Kirk Cousins last year.
Hey, I love to hear that. He's on my team right now, so I do think he'll have a better year this year than he has in the last 2. Last year wasn't a bad year. It's just like you said, bad quarterback play. And realistically, if he just connected on like 10 more targets, we're talking like another probably like 150, 200 yards, maybe another touchdown or 2. I know he was missed on quite a few touchdowns last year, so he does get the red zone targets. They're going to be lining him up at receiver every now and then as well. So
they're going to move him around.
Yeah.
He's only 23, 6'6", 246 pounds.
It's
This guy is a
body.
freak of nature.
And the red zone, I think, is going to be his best friend this year, and I'm excited to see what he does because
I think he's going to have a great year. It wouldn't surprise me if he cracks the top 3.
He might even be the top guy. Cousins loves his tight ends. Moving on, we got Trey McBride.
Yeah, you know what? Listen. We're into the top 3 now. I think any of these guys in the top 3 are interchangeable. I'll be honest with you. I think there's a couple guys that that we've already talked about that could reach the top 3. I just think that McBride, is gonna he's gonna have a breakout year this year. He broke out last year, with over 800 yards and 81 touchdowns. I think the combination of him and Marvin Harrison. They also got Dortch there. I think that he's going to come out and he's going to have a great year. I think he's going to have over 1,000 yards for sure, maybe 1,200. I definitely think that he could, he could have around 5 touchdowns. But I'm high on this guy. That's why I got him in my top 3.
Yeah, and I think he's going to be a top tight end here. I would more so say top 5. Just due to the fact that I think Kyler Murray's rushing ability and able to get into end zone is kind of like a Dalton Kincaid situation where it could take away a few touchdowns, but I could definitely see him over 1,000 yards. I really only see him at 4 or 5 touchdowns. I think Harrison will take away a lot of those targets in the red zone, but I still think he's going to get targets there in the red zone. Numero 2, Sam Laporta.
Yeah, you know what? What can we say? Laporta he came out last year in his rookie season, and he made Detroit look like geniuses, for trading away Hawkinson. I know a lot of people were like, "Why'd you guys trade him away?" Well, they drafted Laporta, and he comes in. What's he do? He tears it up. He has almost 900 yards on 86 receptions. He was targeted over 120 times. He had 10 touchdowns. Again, this is another example of, they got a decent, 1-2 punch at wide receiver, more so number 1. I think Jameson Williams is going to prove his worth there. I think but I think Laporta is going to be a big part of this offense. He could end up number 1 this year. As tight end, but I definitely think he's probably gonna break that 1,000 yards this year. I really think he will, and I definitely think he's gonna have around 10 touchdowns.
Yeah, I think he's gonna have a really good year. I think he's gonna have a similar year. I don't think much is gonna change. I think he's gonna be a top 2, top guy, maybe even still this year. But yeah, there's not much to say. He came out, proved everyone wrong for oh, why did you guys trade away Hawkins? Oh, look, there's a reason right there. They found their guy, and he's going to be unbelievable. Mark Andrews, number 1.
Yeah, I know a lot of you guys out there are going to say, you guys are crazy. Why do you got Andrews as number 1? There's no way he's going to be number 1. Listen, I think that Mark Andrews is going to bounce back this year. From his injury last year. That's just my opinion. Could he drop down? I think any of these, I'll be honest with you, I think any of the top 6 guys we have on here top 7 guys have the potential to be the tight end number 1 this year. I mean, Wiggs, would you agree with that? I mean, so I just got a gut feeling that Mark Andrews is going to have a bounce back season. I think that he's going to have, as long as he's out on that field, I think he's going to have over 1,300 yards. He's always been Lamar's favorite target. He's always been, when he's out on the field for a full season, he's always been over 100 targets most of the time. A couple of the seasons he was right around that 100 target. I just gotta, I'm going with my gut. My gut says that he's gonna have a great year. I really believe that. I think Lamar is hungry for a Super Bowl, and he's going to go to his favorite target.
Yeah, and it's Mark Andrews. Just like looking at it, you pointed it out. Over 100 targets in several seasons here with Lamar, or right on that cusp of 100. But even just looking at his stats from last year, he played 10 games, had 6 touchdowns, and over 500 yards. We're talking at least another 30 reception or targets minimum there in that offense, and he probably hits 10 touchdowns with the way it was looking. So
Oh, he was on. I think if he didn't miss the 7 games, and let's be honest, he probably would have only played in 6 of them because they probably would have sat him the
yeah,
last game. He could have still hit. He could
he
have
could have hit
still.
100.
He would have been over 1,000 yards
Yeah,
for sure. So
yeah, he would have had an unbelievable year if he didn't get hurt. He would have easily been top three. I don't think anyone can argue that really. And looking at it, there's been 3 years there where I don't. Did Lamar play these 3 years, or was Flacco still there? 2018. So yeah, look, Lamar's always looked his way. So I'm excited to see what they do this year. There's been several seasons here where Lamar has targeted him a lot of times, and he's gotten a lot of touchdowns.
and let me just say this: I think between Andrews, Laporta, McBride, Pitts, Ingram, Kelsey, and Kincaid. I mean, you could make an argument for Kittle maybe as well. I think between any of those guys, it's really close. I really think it's really close. I think it's a strong tight end group this year. I really do. I know a lot of people always freak out when they don't get one of the top tight ends. I really feel that this year's tight end group is going to be a strong group, no matter what. So I think any one of those guys that I just named off could shoot up and take that number 1 spot. I'm, you know, I'll be honest with you, I was surprised that Wiggs and I agreed on this one and stuff. So, again, everybody's got their own opinion. I'm just going with my gut, what I think. I think the only thing that's going to hold Andrews back this year is if he's not on the field. But if he's on the field and healthy all season, I think he's gonna tear it up. I have no doubt in my mind that he's not. So I'm definitely high on Mark Andrews this year as long as he's out on the field.
And I think there is a lot of depth here at tight end. Even if you don't get one of those, I mean, I'd probably say top 9. I might even switch Njoku with Goddard there and make it a top 10. I think there's really 10 to 12 guys you can really draft and has as your tight end one. But even if you don't get one of those guys, I think the guys we have on this list here at like 12 to like 19, I'd probably flip Conklin and Juwan Johnson around. But I think any one of those guys are draftable as well. Like, yes, you're taking a risk with someone like Hawkinson, but it's TJ Hawkinson. He should still be up there in points and touchdowns, especially with some lackluster play we're going to see this year out of Sam Darnold. Um, I think
Yeah,
there's a lot of options. I wouldn't even stress about drafting a tight end until late because I think really any one of those top 20 guys can give you decent points. And realistically, tight ends, unless you get one of those top 8, are just kind of bonus points for your team.
yeah, and I'll tell you this. I mean, a lot of people, depending on the strategy that you use, are going to try to go after a top tight end, and that's fine. I think that's great. I think any tight end, even the top ones, are a risk. You just never know. I think you're seeing more and more of these teams get versatile with these tight ends, like a Pitts and like a Bowers that's coming in this year, a Kincaid. Um, so I think that there's um, a lot of different things that these tight ends do too. I think it's one of the toughest positions actually in the NFL to play because you've got to know what the running backs are doing. You got to know what the wide receivers are doing. You got to know what the linemen are doing. You got to be able to block. You got to be able to catch. You might have to, line up in the slot. Really, if you think about it, the tight end has to know almost every single position on that offense. So I think it's the toughest position to play. So these guys are really smart and stuff. Again, like I said, I always love to have the QB tight end connection on my fantasy team. If I don't have a stud tight end, because it's just to me depending on who your QB is, obviously, and if they like to use the tight end and stuff, it's paid benefits for me in the past. So, with that said, again, we appreciate you guys listening, watching our videos. Check us out at Fantasy Fools PPR out on YouTube. Subscribe, like. We're also out on Snap, X, Instagram, TikTok. Check us out there. Wiggs has been doing a great job getting all those videos out there. And like we always say, hey, listen, we're not going to hit everything, but who does? I'll be honest, I just read something today where they were talking about who picked the most accurate sleepers last year. You know what? The guy that picked the most accurate sleepers wasn't even one of the guys that people usually follow. He's a guy that most people probably don't even know. So keep that in mind. We're not going to hit everything, but we're going to hit a lot of stuff. I feel we are. We like to pay attention, and stuff. So take it for what it's worth. Again, if you don't like something that we say, just go back to the name. Fantasy Fools, man.
If you think we're a fool, we don't even care. You could cook us all you want. We're giving you our thoughts. We don't really.
We just appreciate you guys tuning in, and give us some feedback if there's any feedback that you have, and we hope that the information you get from us you find beneficial. We got a lot more content coming. You're probably going to see some of our drafts, our drafts live for some of our leagues. Wiggs has been working hard getting us in leagues. We're in our normal keeper league. We're in another keeper league.
Just got a dynasty league filled.
We're doing a dynasty league this year. You're gonna, you'll see some stuff from that as well. So it's all gonna be good content. So take it for what it's worth, and we just appreciate you guys tuning in.
I think you killed it right there, so we can sign on off. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks.